In 2007, I presented a conceptual design for the Virginia Tech Autism Clinic. During that presentation, I argued for a calming environment. I gave many reasons for this. Among them, the high divorce rate among families with individuals with autism. There's one catch. I couldn't have known what the divorce rate was. No study prior to 2010 had seriously looked at divorce rates among families with autism. But more on that later. My irresponsible and inexcusable blunder reflects the depressingly common urge we have to jump to conclusions about the why and the how of a situation before we ever analyze the reality of it. For centuries, countless scholars built elaborate models to explain why and how the sun went around the earth without ever asking, does it? This kind of cognitive blindness makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. It is better to assume a hungry lion is making the grass rustle than to ponder if it is nothing at all. This is known as a type 1 error. Although advantageous on the African savanna, this type of thinking can be disastrous when making design decisions. My stomach still turns when I think of how I carelessly help perpetuate the myth that families with an autism diagnosis have higher rates of divorce. The myth of high divorce rates has been strong for years. Even Susan Wright, the co-founder of Autism Speaks, the U.S.'s largest autism science and advocacy organization, claimed a divorce rate of over 80%. I personally first came across this myth while reading an article about architect Bill Blansky's $38.8 million design for the UC Davis Mind Institute. In that article, Blansky stated, quote, "Imagine an autistic child in a young family. It's a very stressful experience, and the divorce rate among these families is huge. So a warm, inviting, calm atmosphere was very important," end quote. Statements about divorce rates are not innocuous statements. First, if true, then it needs to be delivered with greater care than I did. Many individuals with an autism diagnosis can understand the meaning of such a statement. Without a sensitive and thoughtful delivery, some individuals might blame themselves for their parents' divorce. Nonchalantly saying that an autism diagnosis increases divorce rates is callous at best. Now imagine making this statement without even bothering to investigate if it is even true. And that's what I did. And here's the painful irony. A large epidemiological study published in 2011 by Johns Hopkins found that an autism diagnosis, when controlling for accompanying diagnoses, actually decreased the rate of divorce. So were Bill Blansky and I wrong to design calming environments? Not necessarily. We were correct that families with individuals with autism experience uniquely stressful relationships. What's more, since the completion of the Mind Institute, the building has received positive feedback. Blansky says, quote, "We've actually gotten almost spiritual or religious comments back about the calming sense of space at the Mind Institute," end quote. Additionally, there are many other reasons for Blansky's sensory-sensitive approach. All that being said, however, does not give us the license to fabricate facts out of whole cloth to support our design decisions. How does pointing out any of this help the architecture profession? Because I believe it matters how architects reach their conclusions. The ends in this case do not justify the means. Blansky and I might have luckily been right about creating calming environments, and that's a big maybe. Still, that doesn't mean our method, or rather lack thereof, would work for other design decisions. How can we trust design decisions if the means of reaching them are flawed? Making claims without considering the evidence undermines the trust between architects and the public. Perhaps architects would be in a better position today if more architects based their theories and design decisions on the best available evidence, were comfortable in saying, "I don't know," and resisted assuming too much. I will leave you with a quote by Isaac Newton, who famously said, quote, "To explain all nature is too difficult a task for any one man or even any one age. 'Tis much better to do a little with certainty and leave the rest for others that come after you, than to explain all things by conjecture without making sure of anything," end quote. I will make a faithful effort to adhere to this dictum. We all have cognitive biases, so I will surely slip up again. I will think I know things that I don't. So please be sure to hold me accountable.